next couple of games that
immediately fixable? Well,
relatively immediately.
yeah, no, and listen, we're not. It's not triage where we have a bad team. We have a really good team. We didn't play particularly well, and so there's a lot of things that were a little bit anomalous where we just didn't play great. And certainly Georgia had some contribution to that. So it's we're continuing to work on the glass right now. That's been something that's it's interesting because we had been one of the top defensive rebounding percentage teams in the country, and that's kind of bit us a little bit. And so we're rethinking some approaches there that we hopefully will see immediate progress on because we've been really good, right? We got to be good in this league right now with the physicality and the way this is being played. We've been really good in terms of ball protection. I think we've been number one in the country. I think we're close, and so I don't think it's reinventing the wheel for us on the ball protection side. We just didn't do it well, in this game. And you take 3 offensive fouls that were interesting, and then you take some. And actually more than that, just because of the wedging fouls, the offensive rebound fouls, and so, the biggest contributor to our turnovers was actually the whistle part of the game, right? That we're trying to figure out. So, there's certainly areas that we're going to continue to grow and fine tune, but there's not a lot of total restructuring going on.
Do you think you guys need to get to the free throw line more? Like for the year, Kobe's been 8 and Jackson's 24.
Yeah, it's hard to trick up Kobe Bray. He's the number 1 most efficient player in the country. So sometimes you don't want to mess with that too much. But anytime you get to the free throw line, it's really good. It's helpful for us. We have 3 guys that are in the top, I think 200, 250 in the country getting the free throw line. So guys do that well. But getting the free throw line is an advantage, but there's always a cost in getting in the free throw line. There's a heavy cost to get in the free throw line, and there can be an efficiency cost. There can be a space cost. You also, getting in the free throw line means you have to at some point put the game into the official's hands, which is a very, very dangerous, inconsistent space to live in. That's not taking a shot at the referees. It's just that you're taking the game out of your hands and trying to put it in someone else's hands, and that's always just a complicated issue. So certainly as a part of the game, it's really important. Our style of play is never going to lend itself to us being, we're not striving to be the number 1 free throw shooting team in the country in terms of attempts, because I think the cost of that is too high. But we'd like to have a presence there for sure.
Mark, in your coaching career, have you had a team that maybe wasn't physical enough, and did you have to do something mid-season to get your team to be more physical? Do you think this current team you might have to do something like that?
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to be more physical. I don't think that's, I think that's kind of, it's one of the first things we reach for is probably the best way to say it. I think in basketball in general. And the physicality of the game is it's an important part of what happens in the league for sure. The game always gets more and more physical in the league, and so our guys understanding, and there's also a part of understanding where you can be really, really physical and where you can't, right? And that's part of our determination. It's, there's a lot of facets that. One is just like the physics aspect of it, of having a low center of gravity and kind of being the hit first guy and a first hit and a second. There's all the schematics and the skill of it, and then there's also the mentality of it and the IQ of it. The mentality of it is kind of this aggression side of it, where you're always thinking about contact, and then the IQ of it is understanding when. And where it's appropriate and where it can be utilized and where it's important. And so all 3 of those levels are places where you kind of are where we're, learning the game, studying the game, trying to implement the game. And it'll be a really important part of the game and league, and our league and everybody's league. That's what league play is.
What you talked about after the Ohio State game was that default. when things go rough, or maybe when shots aren't falling. There's been a lot of talk about that even after the last game.
Yeah.
What do you think at this point in the season you have to do to maybe get that default away from, you said, somebody trying to take it into their own hands?
Yeah.
When the going gets tough, especially on the road.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's not an easy answer to. That is, when you start talking about trust and belief, not in each other, our guys trust and believe in each other, but when you start talking about trust and belief in where you go for answers, that's a process that everybody is trying to find, and it's not a matter of not being able to find it. I mean, our guys have found it a lot this season. Like, there's been a whole lot of trust and faith on this team where we've gone to the right well to find answers in the biggest games that have been played all season, right? But being able to get there every single time is part of the challenge, right? At the end of the year, it's, can you get there 6 straight games? Can you go to the right space with all the different distractions and different vibes? Can you keep going right to the same place and keep trusting over and over and over again? And so that's kind of the space we're living in right now, is how consistently can we be in the right spot on the floor? How consistently can our faith be placed in the right space? How consistently can we tune out all the distractions that happen around the game and kind of be locked in just to the moment? We're fully capable of doing it. We've done it at the highest level. We've done it pretty consistently, but now can we do it every time? And that's what every team in this country is striving for. It's like what percentage of time can you be in that space?
What do you know about Mississippi State and what they present to you?
They're good. Woo, they're good. They're really good. We have to, you just clip and paste that onto the next game too, whatever team we ask. This team's really, really talented. They got an elite level scorer, playmaker in their point guard. And his number 12 is a real talent. He's been doing it for a while. He's really, really dangerous. They have a really unique piece in their starting 4. Is very much a Draymond Green vibe. He's a really terrific, creative passer. He's got an unbelievable sense of space and time away from the ball. You can see cutters. He can pass off the bounce. He can be really aggressive to the rim. He plays like a really, really big point guard. And so he's a unique piece for them. They're really aggressive. They're a high turnover forcing team. They're really aggressive on the glass. They're a top 30 team on the offensive glass. It's kind of the bio of everybody in the SEC. I know Coach Jans really well. He's a terrific coach. He's done a great job, and so it'll be in a venue that's going to be a terrific, spirited venue. So it'll be a great challenge for us.
Mark, as a coach, there's consistency in the 3 losses that you guys have had. Is that easier to coach and say, hey, this is what we have to work on, or is that harder because it's more potentially like a habit that they, I know Dylan said they fall into,
Yeah.
but that consistency, is that something you're worried about, or is that easily fixable?
Well, we love trends as coaches, right? You love trends because trends are easy to attack. And there have been some trends in the 3 losses, but the trends get a little bit more murky when you include the wins, because some of the same things have happened in the wins, right? So that's when it gets really interesting. But yes, for sure, we love trends. I love all the trends except for any trend that has to do with L's, right? So, but that's what you do. Like, we're pattern seekers. You want to go find patterns. You want to go things that rear their heads more than once, because those are easy to. They're more tangible, and they're more easy to address for sure. Like, because it gives you something that's, like I said, that's tangible that you can really focus on. And so, we love those, and we also love taking things. There's tangible things that we're doing well through wins and losses too, that we need to hold on to, and that's kind of the magical cocktail of it. But for sure, yes.
About physicality, you were a physical player. Is that an attitude or a skill? Can that be taught?
Yeah, it's all. I'm going to try and kind of go back to what I said. So for sure, there's an attitude and aggressiveness to it. There's very much a skill portion of it. And there's very much an IQ portion of it. Like, there's really those 3 parts of the physicality of the game, And so the aggression part of it is this nature of just embracing the physicality of the game. Now, you can do that and have a really poor IQ and a really poor skill set and not be very functional, right? You could be a belligerent, aggressive, fouling, out of context guy on the floor, and that's not going to be very functional. You could also be a really, you kind of need all three slices. You could have a really high IQ about when you can really impose your physicality in the game, really have a great aggression, but not have the skill set to actually do it. Not kind of go low to high, not kind of attack guys' hips and knees, right? And have that vibe. You could be a top-heavy player, and that could be problematic. So it's really those three parts of it. And yes, 100%. I'm a growth mindset guy. I think we can learn anything. I think we can grow into anything. I think that's pretty much in the DNA of probably every athlete. But I know that we can. Not just get better at this, but we can become a dominant force. Amari Williams, you go back and look at his film, he was elite in terms of the way he used his physicality in this game on the glass. And the game didn't really treat him great for some other reasons, some other mistakes in other places in the game. He wasn't able to, he had some foul issues early and didn't probably play his normal rotation. But he was elite, and I'm trying to get him to channel that and bring that same thing into the game, which is really interesting, right? Because this happens sometimes. Sometimes you do something really, really well, and you don't get the immediate payoff of a result, either personally or as a team that you wanted. But you got to hold on to that place where you really grow, and then actually go address some of the other issues. And so I know that this is a space in the game where you can learn and you can get better for sure.
Kind of feeding off that, as a coach, after a loss, how much of it is knowing which parts, this part is good, we just need to do it better, and which parts you need to change?
Yep. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, right? That's part of that's part of knowing your guys. It's part of knowing your locker room. It's part of knowing your team. It's part of having an understanding of the league, understanding the competition. And that's also an art form because there's so many variables, right? So variables are always changing. But you're needling exactly the right space about, what do you want to really push forward on because you're going in exactly the right direction, and then what do you want to manicure around it? That's actually the beauty of coaching. That's the beauty of the dynamics of a team. So there's not an easy one-line answer to that because it's super artistic, I think.
Along those lines, what's kind of the balance of Ortega playing off 1 foot as opposed to playing off 2 foot and not kind of holding him back from what he's good at, but also making him more efficient?
Yeah, it's both, right? It's both. I had a great mentor at BYU, Keith Vorking, who was talking to me, and I was trying to find resolution to an issue. I was trying to resolve an issue. I wanted it to be clean and neat and finished and tidy and put a little bow on it, right? And set it aside so I could move on to the next thing. But I was having frustration because I was being pulled 2 different directions really hard. And so Keith sat me down and we were just talking about it. He's like, hey, in fact, he said this to me. He's like, we didn't bring you here to find the resolution. We brought you here to live inside the tension and move forward inside the tension. And so what we want as human beings is we want this satisfactory, tied up a neat little bow so we can move on to the next thing. But actually, when you're trying to do things at an amazingly high level and you're really, really digging into the details, you actually probably don't want to swing too wide either way because you're going to lose some of the magic of it. So your question is really good. And the truth is that with Ortega, we're going to bounce back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. We're going to kind of fight ourselves to try and what we're going to try and do is we're kind of bouncing between 2 walls, and we're not going to go stick to one wall that's always universally this is 100% the answer, or not swing wide where this is always universally 100% the answer. What we're trying to do to get visual with you is we're trying to just narrow these parameters where we're still going to bounce between the 2 walls, but our accuracy is going to become a little bit more a higher percentage, if that makes sense. So there's times when Ortega has got an angle and where he's got to go finish off 1 foot, and he's actually made some great plays against Georgia. There's some times when he races in there and he makes a play off 1 foot. It's like, oh, this was a hard one. We should have that one back. And so that's the decision-making process. If we could, the game would lose some beauty if you could forecast it 100% of the time. It's making live reads, and he's actually getting better and better at it. He's still in the top 7 percentile as the most efficient players in the country. He's more efficient than he's ever been before by far, and that's not because he's only landed on one side hyperbolically, but it's because he's narrowing the two walls, still bouncing up against them. There's still going to be some things like, oh, I wish I could take that one back. But, that's what essentially playing off 2 feet helps you do, is it gives you longer to make a decision. But he's also really explosive. He can make plays off 1 foot, and the right answer is making the right decision between those two things more often, and he's doing a good job making progress there. Super cool, actually, but very frustrating. It's like growth is.
How important is it, and how much do you guys emphasize maintaining positive body language, especially when shots aren't falling or there's a call guys are not in love with?
Yeah, I give my guys like a B-ish in terms of us coming fresh. We talked about it all game in the second half. Can we come back to the next play fully fresh, fully engaged, full heart, right, clear mind? And that is a challenge for every single athlete. Like that's one of the great challenges that you face in athletics. And I thought our guys were good. We just finished another film session with our guys, and one of the best plays of the whole game for us was 1:03 left in the game, and things are, it's just been a mounting frustration after frustration after frustration. And Ortega, gets to the rim and has a layup and then has a tip and misses them both and ends up on the floor and the ball's out of bounds. And Brandon Garrison, young, beautiful Brandon Garrison, runs all the way from outside the three-point line, sprints across the floor to pick him up with the 1:03. With all the hard, bad stuff going on, those are the moments where you're like, okay, let's go. Like this is the stuff that you build off of, that you continue to, those are the things where you hold on to. You're like, okay, like the ingredients are there. We just are going to play better. We'll play better. We'll execute better. We'll have less little holes. We'll be more consistent with being in the right spot at the right time. But when you have guys that at least show signs of being able to dance with frustration and then kind of kick it out where they can still think about something just besides being lost in their own head at all the frustration, that doesn't guarantee you wins, but it gives you a feel of like, okay, you know what, like this was a really brutal night for us, and there's going to probably be some more as we go ahead, but like we got to keep building trajectory-wise, and with moments like that you can.
What do you remember about Starkville?
I actually remember very little. I remember Eric Dampier, who was a terrific pro and a terrific college player, and I remember who was the really explosive. His name escaping me right now. Dante Jones, of course. I remember Dante Jones. I remember going to Starkville and having a big win, a really physical game, I remember the vibe in the gym was electric, like it usually is there, and I remember high level competition. It was fun that year. Both of us were in the Final Four.
Dante had 9 turnovers in the regular season.
But then he blew us up in the SEC championship, man. He lost his mind. Him and everybody else on the team, and we had walk-ons making 1 foot runners, from 17 feet. That's why this game is so beautiful. And it is beautiful. And, when you do it right, when you're built the right way, I forcibly went to trying to remember our game at Mississippi State, which I remember somewhat that we won. But like all the stories I tell are from the SEC championship when we lost to Mississippi State. And that's how you build a season. Like that's what it is. And it's the same with fans. Like, our run in '96 in the NCAA tournament was probably more special to our fans because we'd been through it together also. Like, if you ask me about that season, I remember a lot of games, but I really remember UMass. It's that game of the season. I can tell you a lot of details from that, and it's these hard moments that make you grow too. And that's, I'm telling you, it's why basketball is special. And so when you can take the hard moments and turn them into something great, and you can take the great moments and continue on with them, that's when you're on a journey that you do in a locker room and with your fan base and with everybody else, and the outcome hangs in the balance the whole way, and that's why it's so fascinating. And so I do think we have a group that's capable of doing that, and I think we have tremendous resilience and tremendous resolve, and I think the guys have shown that a bunch this season already, and now we're facing the biggest challenge we have all year on Saturday, going on the road for this game, and man, let's go roll it out and see what we can do. Let's go, baby.
We know the threes are either going to go in or not, but how do you feel like you guys are doing from two in your eyes, and how can you get that?
Yeah, I think we've been really effective from two. I actually liked our rim possessions a lot in this game. Obviously there's always exceptions. I feel like, I was a little disappointed. We were down to 29 assist opportunities and only 23 high-value assist opportunities. And so those numbers are low for us. And in our top 100 games, we've been 36 plus in assist opportunities. So we were almost a decade short of that, almost 10 shy. And so that's a space where we would like to fight to be incredibly consistent. Average out, we're close to 40 is how we've been for the season, and so that's a nuanced conversation. Back to your point earlier about getting to the free throw line. Part of the cost to getting the free throw line is that it can take away some of this assist opportunities that actually makes us really dangerous and makes us really beautiful offensively, beautifully dangerous offensively, and so there's a balance there, right?
The assist turnover is like 2.
Yep.
But you only had the assist, the 13
Yeah.
turnover. Is that just not threes not falling, or is there something in 2?
Well, the 14 turnovers is a little bit of an anomaly for us this season, and that was very, very distressing. And also the assist was very, very distressing. So way to hit on a really, really sore point, man. Just break my heart right here. We just bring that up again. Let's next time we come in, you have a T-shirt that's like 814. I'm kidding, but. But that's a space that we take a lot of pride in, and when our assist turnover ratio is right, it's a manifestation of us actually playing the right way. That's actually the result of us being judicious with how we play and being incredibly forceful with how we play. And when we don't have that, and you backtrack how we got upside down, it's usually shows us that percentage-wise we're just like, we're a little bit sticky. We're not quite cutting as hard. We're a little bit like, I'm going to go save this myself. Just a little bit. Like there's a little bit of that, of all those dynamics that seeps into it that gets us lit upside down. And for sure, sometimes you don't make as many shots. For sure, that's part of it. But the nice thing is assist opportunities doesn't include making or missing shots, right? High-value assist opportunities has nothing to do with making or missing shots, and so they're more consistent markers for us. And so those numbers, while you're going to make some shots some nights and not make some shots the other night, those numbers can stay really, really consistent, and that's our goal is to keep those more consistent.
What makes your team such a good three-point defense team, defending the three? Is that personnel, principles, both?
Yeah, well, we weren't as good as we'd like to be in this last game, and we're actually we talk about the tension of banging up against things. So our spot up numbers have been ridiculous for the whole season, and post Ohio State, we were really having some ball screen defensive issues, and so one of the things that you wrestle with all the time going back and forth is like, ideally we'd like to play 2-on-2 as much as we can in ball screens, because ball screen, universally, ball screen derived offense is much higher than ball screen offense. So ball screen derived offense includes one pass and then the next action after the pass, where ball screen offense, ball handler, and roll just includes their uses of possessions. And so philosophically, like, that's a way we've wanted to play. And so, we got up to that game in late December, and we're like, man, our spot up numbers are insanely good. We're on top team in the country in guarding spot up, which is spot up is any possession that's played against a closeout. So it could be a shot, it could be a drive, it's anything there. And our ball screen, ball handler defense was just okay, but points per possession wise, it's much lower traditionally than a spot up percentage. And our roll percentage was a little higher than we like, but usage wise, it was pretty low. So all those numbers worked out. And then we started to feel some vulnerability in our ball screen defense where we really got cooked one night. And so we started kind of leaning into a third defender, trying to slide a third in defender with an early help to recover field, but trying to get an early tag, trying almost involve another guy. And so what's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is your spot up number is going to go down a little bit. And that's the rails that you're going to constantly keep banging back and forth against. And you're trying to just narrow those rails more than trying to attach yourself fully to one or the other. And so our spot up defense has been really good because included in that is our catch shoot 3-point percentage has been really good. Partly because there's always an anomalous good fortune, but partly because we've been incredibly devoted to it, and we've maybe swung just a little bit wide on being great there, and we've paid some consequences. But we're going to keep knocking back and forth against those walls and hopefully narrow the walls. But that's a long-winded answer to your question.
Well, you're not leaving the corner open too, right? When the third one's shading, right?
Well, it could be anywhere. It could be anywhere. Sometimes it's a down week where the next pass is the pop guy, right? So it's the fun part of the game, right? It's the part of the game where this game would be super easy, and you guys all know, I'm not telling you anything you know. This game would be super easy if you could just say, hey, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this and this 100% of the time, but then we'd all be bored and none of us would be here. And so it's a really fun, like data-driven, nuanced, field-driven part of the game that's fun, and we have a group that's really invested in kind of like, we want to explore this game, man, and we want to know this game and learn this game, and our guys are well on the way of trying to do that.